truth in a world of lies. You are listening to the John H. Project.
Trust no one. Trust no one. Trust no one.
You found it. You're here. You're headlong down the runaway train that is the Anomic Age. I am your host, John H., hailing proudly from the coastal plains of the Old North State. I will be your tour guide this evening as we take a somewhat satirical journey down the path of murder, destruction, mayhem, and the extermination of human life on this planet. A forced march into obsolescence thrust upon us by a global satanic death cult of pedophiles. Check out anomicage.com. If you've not already done so, please like all the likes. Subscribe to all the subscriptions. PayPal.me/anomicage. Patreon.com/anomicage as well. Those are the best ways that you can help me out, that you can support this show and do anything else you might happen to do right here at anomicage.com. So a humble thank you to everyone that's still tuning in and hanging out with me here in almost the dark side of the AM. That's where I hope we're shooting for anyway today. Let's just see what in the devil we got going on here. We still, looks like we're still here, there, and everywhere, aren't we? Let us see, because I sure as hell do not see what's going on with the show today. Just give me a moment here, folks. Bear with me, if you will. It sure is mighty crazy. Oh, I know what's going on here. This is the same jive mess that was going on a minute ago, isn't it? Oh, my gracious goodness. Nothing I love more, folks, than fixing things on the fly here, don't you know? That's all right. I have almost grown to enjoy it. So, while I'm fixing stuff on the fly, just talk amongst yourselves here. It's all right. I ain't worried about it. Matter of fact, I enjoy it. I enjoy fixing things right here on the fly. So, hope everyone had a lovely Thanksgiving out there. Let me see here, folks. Just check this out while I'm playing along here.
Here at the Anomic Age, we know that these times of uncertainty are stressful. It is incumbent upon all of us to put our fears first and bow down to government tyranny. Gone are the days of freely leaving your home, working, and social interactions. In exchange for safety, we will trade liberty. At the Anomic Age, we understand. However, just in case you want to get off your knees and stop being a sniveling coward, check out the John H. Project at anomicage.com.
Meet Ann Morrissey, who is here with her daughter, Dareth. Dareth is 17 years old. Mrs. Morrissey, I don't have to tell you that most parents would be extremely depressed if their daughter came home one day looking like this. I assume that was your response shock, anger, depression? What was it?
I was extremely angry. I really went bananas.
Yeah, how old was she when this happened?
Possibly 13, 14 years old.
We're talking like it's a disease, isn't it?
Well,
yeah. How did she explain it to you, Mrs. Morrissey?
there was very poor communication until we went into counseling. And it almost broke up our family. But through counseling and Serena, I can understand it better.
What do you understand?
That she feels like she doesn't want to be like everyone else, and she wants to be her own person. And through the dress code and her lifestyle, she's expressing this. It doesn't conform with our rules, but we're learning to cope, and it's a very, very difficult thing. Extremely difficult.
Dareth, let's let you talk for yourself. You're from Long Beach, California.
I just can't handle being like everybody else because that's what everybody else wants, you know. Just because somebody else does something does not mean that I have to do it. You know, I have my own morals and ideals, and I go by them.
Are you drug-free, Dareth?
Yes, I am.
Is this a political statement, then? Do you have some misgiving about the society that you see?
Yeah, there's a lot of problems, you know. A lot of the people are really...
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, humans of all ages, those of you who still identify as human, I'm still that guy. I'm still your host, John Age, and you're still listening to this show, The Anomic Age. The technical problems won't stop me. So, the old streams are dead, so hopefully if you're below listening to or hoping to watch and listen to the old streams, you just roll up one, and that's where I'll be. Oh, my goodness gracious sakes alive. I love it, folks. I really do love streaming on the Patriots Prayer Network, even though anytime I do, just kind of goes blue, you know? I'm going to start pre-recording my shows on my own studio lines and my own networks, and it will go fine. And then I'm just going to start posting pre-recorded shows. I was going to actually do that this evening, but alas, life got in the way. So here I am, there you are, and we are together again to continue our lovely, lovely conversations. I'm happy to be back with you. I know I missed the Thanksgiving edition of the Anomic Age. I trust and hope that everyone had a lovely Thanksgiving holiday, lovely break. I don't know. It's always a mixed bag. Could be a good one, could be a bad one. Right about here in NC, it's darn near lovely outside. Been watching a lot of Golden Girls. A little lovely for Blanche Devereaux. Anyway, it's quite nice outside here in the coastal plains of the old North State. It's chilly. I know those people are up there in the real north, up there in Montana and Minnesota, where it gets all into those negative numbers. You ain't thinking it's cold down here. But for us in the South, it's a little bit chilly. I love it. Can't wait to get more cold. I hope it stays this way forever and ever and ever. Even though it's the worst time of year, the Christmas season, the most loathed, despised, and otherwise hated time of year for me, I'm still feeling a little all right, you know? Like that old 999 song, feeling all right in the crowd. You feeling all right in the crowd? Feeling all right in the crew? Feeling all right in the crew. Anyway, I am happy to be with you this evening in the Anomic Age. Hopefully you've already gotten the rundown. You already know the deal, and you already know that you can go to anomicage.com and find all things me. I'm not going to belabor those points any longer. For heaven's sakes, there's somebody been sitting around like 11:30 waiting for this whole thing to shake out. Oh my gracious goodness sakes alive. If only the actual technological part of streaming on the Patriots Prayer Network were as easy to do as my show on the normal. But alas. What we're going to talk about this evening, the topic of tonight's information breakdown segment. And I was going to make this segment a just thinking segment. I really am just going to try to branch out and do more of those segments entitled Just Thinking rather than information breakdown, because I'm not going to break down any news clips nor high information from the usual suspect analog demigods out there. I ain't doing that this evening. I'm going to talk about real stuff that matters, as you can see by the show art, courtesy of yours truly. Crazy for noticing. Yeah, I think that's really what it boils down to, folks. There's a whole lot of crazy for noticing going on out there today. I got a little show notes for you. I don't know how well I'm going to stay on them. You know, I don't really do scripts or anything like that, but I do have a heck of a lot of notes to talk about. And it's funny, man. I always think sometimes when I'm kind of prepping for the show, I think, man, I don't have anything to talk about. And then before you know it, as I enjoy the silence, a little Depeche Mode, as I enjoy the silence, I actually have way more thoughts in my head than I thought of things that I want to talk about on this show. And that's exactly what I did today. I was actually working on this in the daytime, in the not so wee hours of the AM nor PM. I was working this in the afternoon. And it's a beautiful thing how wonderful silence can be. And I think that's something that we all need to work on, especially as we delve into the most satanic of seasons, rolling into Christmas. Because we really just need to embrace the silence and kind of let all that trivial dribble and falderall go. Don't worry about the stupid gifts and the moronic tree and those asinine lights and getting gifts for a bunch of blowhard boobs, buffoons, and otherwise ne'er-do-well carpetbaggers that really don't matter. No. Just embrace and enjoy the silence a little bit. And as you do, I do believe you will glean a greater degree of calm, which is indeed what we all need at this time of year. A greater degree of calm. So I've been trying to do that a whole lot more. And every time I do, man, it's like a blessing. It's like, oh yeah, this is what God actually wants you to do in the first place. Cut all the nonsense off. Look within thyself. Because as I've kind of done some show prep today, the one thing that I really kind of kept coming back to, it's kind of a reframe of other topics that we've discussed ad nauseum on the show. Just this notion of weapons of mass distraction, because most everything in our lives right about now is a weapon of mass distraction. So it's a weapon of mass distraction however you want to cut it. 8 days a week and twice on Sunday. Virtually everything all around us all the time. But somebody out there is going, but John, what are they distracting us from? The proverbial they. Who are they? Well, I better not say. Come on, you know I'm going to say it, right? Anyway, so what are the proverbial they trying to distract us from? It's a good question. That's what we're going to look into this evening. So much of what we exist in, this morass of defecation, is nothing more than a weapon of mass distraction. All the ping pong balls of news stories and celebrity deaths and celebrity falls and celebrity marriages and all. It's all just a weapon of mass distraction, folks. And they know that the psyche of most folks is kind of like that old Circle Jerk song, Casualty Vampires, craning their neck. Casualty vampires. Show them your teeth, right? Exactly right. That's what the old Circle Jerks saying like 3-4 decades ago now, casualty vampires. And they were really discussing people on the freeway craning their necks to look at the next soup du jour, the next distraction, the next disaster, because if it bleeds, it leads. So if you look at that, through that very myopic early 80s lens that the Circle Jerks were singing about, Keith Morris and all, it was the casualty vampires on the freeway. But now, we got casualty vampires all over the place, folks. Because no longer are we limited to 3 big networks. Oh, no. Now we have cable. And no longer are we limited to just your local news broadcast. All the news you need to know. You know that malarkey? Nah. Because now we can look at the news from Timbuktu to Taiwan. Anywhere we happen to go, don't you know? Through our little NSA spy bots, known affectionately or more colloquially as your cell phones. Exactly. So now we can look this stuff up all the time. We can be distracted anywhere, on the toilet, in traffic, when you're trying to have a transaction at the bank and you're in an ever so long line. Yeah. You can see this stuff everywhere now, right? So you can be distracted all the time. So, no longer are we just casualty vampires on the freeway. Nay. But back to the point, what's all this distracting you from? It's distracting you from thyself. Because if there's one thing our life is really all about, contrary to hokey pokey, that's not really it. What life is really all about is a quest for certainty. As Ray of Today said, vis-a-vis Shelter about 3 decades back, it's my quest for certainty. So what the heck does that mean? It's your quest for inner peace. It's your quest and your investigation and further edification of thyself. That's really what it's really about here on this mortal coil, on this plane, on this globe, on this hexagonal, triangular forma. Whatever you think this joint is, that's really what it's all about. It's exploring and understanding the self, the id in all psychology. I'm talking about the id, the ego, the super ego, or just the old id. That's really what it's about, folks. It's figuring mess out for yourself. But so much of our lives has become a distraction from the self. And I know a lot of people out there, it's not all about you. That's selfish edge talk, John. Okay, whatever, folks. In my humble opinion, it is all about you. People want to make it about everybody but you. You want to make it about whatever that guy at the water cooler is doing. Oh, what's he going through? Oh, his family's splitting up. Oh, they're going to Tijuana for Christmas. Or that's how it is. Folks always want to sycophantically suck up the trash that don't have jack to do with you. It don't matter what that family's doing. It don't matter what your extended family's doing. It doesn't matter what your boss is doing, what your friend that shares the office or workspace with you is doing. It just doesn't matter. What does matter is you. That's really what matters, folks. On an old episode of the Andy Griffith Show, I can't remember the exact storyline here, but basically the crux of it was, and I'll paraphrase it. I'm sure I'll foul it up because I can't remember it verbatim. But he says basically, if you put a low price on yourself, excuse me. I think this was on Andy Griffith Show too, but I'm remembering this from Home Improvement. Been watching a lot of that. I want to do a deep dive on that because I think that's a little bit more nefarious than you might think at first glance. But I digress. Home Improvement, I believe it was Wilson dropping his truth bomb. If you put a low price on yourself, rest assured that the world will not raise the value. And that's so much truth that people don't want to understand, comprehend, or appreciate. So if you go around saying, oh, it's not about me, it's about them, it's about her, it's about that guy, it's about this gentleman over there, it ain't about none of that, folks. So by doing that, you're subjugating yourself. You're relegating yourself. So stop it. It's really about figuring it all out for you. That's what it's all about. That's it, folks. But if we allow ourselves to be distracted by every soup of the day, flavor of the month, so say it the Vandals, then you will perpetually and inevitably be distracted from what really matters. Because you can't focus on you if you're worried about everything else and everybody else. And yes, that does happen to also include the news, the flavor of the month news stories, the Charlie Kirk ongoing saga, Erica Kirk, who cares? What's Trump doing now? What's he not doing now? Bongino, Pam Bundy. It just goes on and on and on, folks. 9 times out of 10, there ain't a fraction of a modicum of any of that jack turkey jive that's got anything to do with you, nor will have anything to do with you. Even if you perceive in your own little mind's eye that it has something to do to you, or with you rather, or if you perceive in your own little mind's eye that you can actually make a difference, make a change, and otherwise rock the boat from Field of Dreams, you probably can. It's just a lot of hubris, a lot of big talk, a lot of, we can change it. No, you probably can't. Sorry. That's probably just a bunch of hogwash. I'm going to pull this one up. I wasn't even going to show this one, but by God, I believe that I shall. Let me see if I can get that going here. No, I ain't trying to look at this jive turkey. This is what I want to look at, because I was actually going to say this line today, But then I thought, you know what, John? Why say the line when you could get someone else to say it for you? I've been posting this quite a bit online, Lily. And I think it's darn right funny. So, that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. Let's pull this one up, folks. Headphones. Where we at? We're going to this view. Bling. We're taking this away. Blong. And we're going to listen to little Candace. Little Candace Owens. Listen to this one. This is a short clip, and it's funny. It's so true. All right, I don't care if you don't like Candace or if you do like Candace. I think this is funny.
How are American politicians able to act on behalf of a foreign nation against its own citizens and not be considered treasonous? Because everything is fake and gay. And we obviously have this whole idea in America as a meritocracy, anybody can make it, is completely fictitious. Bloodlines are ruling the world. That's kind of been my conclusion after this year.
I couldn't have said it better myself, folks. I could not have said it better myself. Everything is fake and gay. That's what I've said. I've posted that at least like 5 times in the last 2 weeks. It's from that clip. I mean, I said that before too, but it's just hilarious, folks. Everything is fake and gay. Everything is fake and gay. And there are still people buying into the baloney. That's what's really funny to me. There's still people buying into, we're going to vote our way out of this. That's going to all change. What? It blows me away. But it really is fake and gay. I got this next clip. This one actually was going to show to you. Because this just goes along with how fake and gay it all is. But wait, there's more. This also shines a light on the weapons of mass distraction. Excuse me. And it also goes further because it plays into what I've said many times before on this show. All the world's a stage and the actors upon it, you know, the old Shakespeare jive there. All the world's a stage and the people just merely actors upon it. Yes. I think that's true of all these turkeys. The only thing I can extend to you is any bit of truth, and I don't expect you to believe it, but I've talked to several people about this quite often recently. The only thing that I actually believe anymore is the tangible things that are within my own life, my own realm of existence. Those things that I talked about in the beginning of the show, the only things that actually blipping matter, that you should actually put any self-worth and interest in. So, you know, my wife, my child, my really close family, and I'll just say friend who's also a family member. That's it. Everything else is butt kiss. Everything else might as well be just a urinating in the wind contest. Because I couldn't tell you if this is true, false, or somewhere in between. Is it white propaganda, black propaganda, or gray propaganda? I don't know. But I do know that virtually everything we see is fake and gay. So just as we've discussed so much of this weapons of mass distraction, distracting us from self, distracting us from the id, distracting us from the self-discovery, this journey that we're all supposed to be on. If that weren't enough to convince you of it, and I'm going to go through some of these topics in just a moment, but here's the one from today that is about as fake and gay as you can possibly imagine. Let's pull this one up. This is the Dan Bongino character. This is another thing that really stupefies me. These individuals that are allegedly like running something, allegedly with a heavy allegedly running something, you know, on like a grand scale, like head of the FBI, or Kash Patel, Bongino, Pam Bondi, who's that other nitwit? Hexev. These are people allegedly running stuff. Like real stuff. I'm not talking about a lemonade stand or a yard sale on the weekend. Allegedly running real stuff, you know. But all of them seem to have way, way, way too much free time to just get on their own show, get on Fox, get on other people's podcasts and everything in between, and just bloviate on about their alleged importance. I don't think any of these people are running jack, folks. This is Dan Bongino today. Try to hold back the laughter. It's going to be difficult, but it's funny. This is a humiliation ritual. Virtually every element that we have to witness, listen to, and experience is a humiliation ritual in our society right now. I don't know who this is actually humiliating more, Dan Bongino or the American public. I would say both, because it's that old adage, who's the bigger fool, or the fool that follows the fool? Both. Let's check this out. This is Dan Bongino. This is real life. This isn't an AI piece. This is something that he obviously...
This is Karate Man. Double leg. The jump kick.
This is just nuts, isn't it?
The side kick. The roundhouse. The tie kick. Body.
Are you serious, folks? Are you serious? Woo. I don't know if Dan Bongino was intentionally channeling Barney Fife. Man, I should have done a split screen of this. Man, that would be so classic. I'll try to do that later. I don't know if he was intentionally channeling Barney Fife for this skit. But I swear to you, man, this is something out of Saturday Night Live, like when it was funny decades ago. This is something along the lines of David Spade in the movie Black Sheep, the follow-up to Tommy Boy, when he was like, rabbit punch, and pile driver. You remember that part in Black Sheep? It's a pretty decent movie. But I think Dan Bongino is channeling Barney Fife here. Because anybody that remembers the old Andy Griffith Show, if you remember Barn, this was on both the Andy Griffith Show and Barney also did this in the great movie, I would say, The Ghost of Mr. Chicken, early 1960s movie. But in both, he went on this little tirade, like this sort of thing. Like he was doing karate to nobody. And he was going on and on like how tough he was and what he was going to do. Like this is straight Barney Fife. This nonsense is Barney Fife, folks. This is Barney Fife. Let's play it again because I don't think people really appreciate how stupid this is. I mean, this is real, folks. This is what really...
This is Karate Man.
Was released.
Double leg. The jump kick. The side kick. The roundhouse. The tie kick. Body.
Yep. That was real, folks. I don't think I can find it that quickly. Let me see if I can. I don't think I can, though. Dang it, I can't find it real quick. Oh, I swear, man. We'll look it up, and I'll put it on something. It's just too funny. It's just too insane. Because somebody out there, I realize there's probably like a much younger demographic that thinks I'm a boomer or some sort of asinine horse. But no, I'm not, folks. Gen X. Anyway, yeah, there's some swath of the audience that has no clue who Barney Fife is and thinks this is just, I guess, Dan Bongino being real tough. But until you've really seen the Barney Fife comparisons, you will not pick up what I'm putting down here. But it's comedy. It is comedy. So this is like the head of an agency, and are you real? Like, maybe he's no. I'm gonna look it up because I hope I'm wrong. Maybe he got fired like in the last few hours, but I don't think so. Yeah, he's the director of the FBI. I'm just making sure he was not relieved of his duty in the last few hours. So this guy, Dan Bongino, is the head of the FBI. This guy that put out this asinine clip of him doing a Barney Fife impression, basically. The real funny is he didn't realize he was doing a Barney Fife impression. He thought he was being tough. That's what's so hysterical. Thought he was being tough. And this plays into one of the other humiliation rituals, and it's a cultural humiliation ritual. So try to follow me here. So you can have a humiliation ritual, like I would say a direct humiliation ritual, which if you're Dan Bongino, this is a direct humiliation ritual. And then you've got the indirect humiliation ritual. That would be the entirety of the United States. This is a humiliation ritual for all of the populace. And then I would extend it one more level out. You could have a cultural humiliation ritual where like the entire culture of the United States is now blemished with this retarded, asinine display of a Barney Fife impersonation by the supposed head of the FBI. Good grief. This is your head of the FBI doing a Barney Fife tough guy routine. And this wasn't like a slip up. This was on his own show, clearly released to the public. I mean, if I had done this, and then I came to my senses after I'd done this, I would go like, yeah, we're chalking this whole thing up. We're removing the video. I would go on a personal apology tour that I was mentally deranged or a special needs person for a few minutes and went into a Barney Fife ritual. That's what I would do. But of course, like he put this out thinking it was tough and cool. It's on his own show. And this is the head of the FBI. And this is perhaps one that's just me, that just really goes into the informal behavior of our entire culture now. Because, man, it pains me to say this, but we've all, the gay guy that was the head of the FBI for decades, that was bad enough. That was definitely a humiliation ritual. I mean, gay lover dressed as a woman, the whole 9 yards. But this is another humiliation ritual. What I was trying to say is just the informal nature of our culture. So even though previous head of the FBI, he was wearing a dress, but J. Edgar Hoover. I was blanking on his first name, J. Edgar. I was remembering the Hoover part, but J. Edgar Hoover. Gay guy, wore a dress. That's him. Anyway, even though as fouled up as he was from the floor up, at least then we lived in a society of somewhat decorum. So at least J. Edgar, when he was out in public, would dress in a nice suit and at least gave the illusion of proper decorum. We got Danny here just repping some sort of tough guy patriot gear. I'm sure it's his own shtick. Tough guy patriot gear on his own podcast because, as head of FBI director, you've just got copious amounts of free time that you can just pee in the wind on your own show and do a Barney Fife impersonation. Kind of like Pam Bondi, always on Fox, because she's got nothing but free time. Sure, nothing but free time. Kind of like Kash Patel, the guy with the honey pot and the whole 9 yards. I mean, we could just keep going down the rabbit hole further. But we see this all the time now, and we've seen this for about 10 years. I first really took notice of it with sports because as a big basketball fan, at least at one time, I noticed back in the day, all the coaches wore a nice proper sports coat at the very least, or usually a full suit. The only person I can say was the exception to that rule would be Bobby Knight. He wore the sweater. He was the only guy that I ever knew that wore anything but a suit. But now, if you look at the NBA, if you look at, of course, college basketball, everybody looks like they're going to the gym. They've got like warm-up gym clothes on. It's preposterous. But that's just one extension of the humiliation ritual because, of course, if you go anywhere out and about, you see Nimrods, giblet heads, and buffoons wearing curlers in their hair, wearing shower caps, wearing pajamas, wearing bedroom shoes. Like, this is just normal attire when you go out and about with the plebs, the scum of the earth, street urchin, bottom feeder trash that is our society now. Like, that's what's up. And it's all a humiliation ritual. Folks, it's sickening. Like 30 years ago, you did not see this. And I'm not talking black, white, anyone in between. You didn't see this, folks. You didn't. You didn't see it. Now, people just, I guess, happy to have on some sort of loincloth or garments covering their fat backside as they go out and about amongst the people. Anyway, I've talked for 10, 15 minutes about this, and it ain't nothing but a weapon of mass distraction, too. This kind of malarkey and just boobery is just more distracting thyself from a deeper understanding of thyself. And you see this everywhere. Our society is replete with distractions. So whether or not it's, the old adage was Dancing with the Stars. I don't even know if that crap's still on anymore. But nevertheless, you had Dancing with the Stars, every reality show known to man, and they were about as real as a animatronic demon. You know, these stupid reality shows. If you look at the credits, it'll say writers, producers, scripts. And you got to go, what? This wasn't reality filled at all. It was just dribble. But yet again, you had people addicted to the distraction. People addicted to finding out more about what's going to happen next week on Jersey Shore. What's going to happen next week on The Real World. What's going to happen next week on Naked and Afraid, or the other 10,000 BS reality shows that they, pulled these slums off the streets for next to nothing and made millions off of. That's it. But they knew that just like people were addicted to the soap operas, and that peak rose and fell, people would also self-invest and have these parasocial relationships with reality TV stars. Just like now, they have these parasocial relationships with these talking heads. They're not even talking heads anymore in the traditional Walter Cronkite or any of that horse pucky. They're now talking heads on the alternative podcast variety. And people somehow still believe this giblet head garbage. Like all these people are grassroots and don't have multi-million-dollar backing. It's funny. But it really just, it plays into the illusion. It plays into the illusion of the American people. Because that's really what's going on. It's an illusion. And people want to believe. Remember that old poster from the X-Files? I want to believe. People do want to believe, folks. They want to believe that it's all going to work out. They want to believe that just like their favorite sitcom, it'll be over in 30 minutes to an hour. The credits will roll and everybody will live happily ever after. They want to believe that person they've been following on social media for 10 plus years is legit, is the real deal Holyfield. But in sad, sad refrain, quite often it's just not so. I wrote this little ditty down. You can go along with somebody for so much until at some point they say something so profoundly stupid that you've just got to turn it off. And I would suggest it's like that with vastly everyone. You could probably say the same thing about me. Somebody's saying that about me right now. They're saying, John, we were with you until you did that Erica Kirk episode. Whoa, we were with you until you clearly were not in the Trump cult anymore. We were with you. And now we think you might be one of them closet commies. Because everyone's in that binary mindset, that binary opposition. It's like that old Claude Levi-Strauss information, the raw and the cooked. The binary opposition. You got to be raw or you got to be cooked. That's it. You either on the right or you on the left. That's it. But sadly, that's not it, people. It's not. So what I was saying, or you can go along with somebody for so long until they say something so profoundly stupid. And that rang so true to me because I've done that a lot in the last week. I'm going to try my best to not name names. You can probably figure some of these out. Because somebody released a big episode in the last couple of days. Somebody else had a big episode with Tucker in the last couple of days. Somebody else you'll never figure out, but it's a Christian pundit. Definitely not mainstream variety, but I've been following his work for a while. Got a book of his by now. But in all those incidences and so much more, that's how it was. It was like, man, I was right there with you. And then you said something so profoundly stupid, I just had bleep it all and cut it off. I had to scrap my entire intellectual investment in what this person was saying because at the end of the day, if you believe in this, I'm sorry, I can no longer follow you down this trajectory. Just too much. And I do believe that's the plan. Because everybody you see of the big name variety, they're getting some big time backing. I don't believe there's any such thing as a grassroots anything anymore that's really that substantially successful. In the same way, I don't believe the Beatles just showed up across the pond and became an overnight sensation. Or the Rolling Stones, or Elvis, or anybody else. I don't believe any of that for a second, folks. There's a plan. So, yeah, that's been really the case for about a week now. And it was kind of profound. I wrote that down earlier this afternoon. I was like, yeah, that's really what I'm feeling. That's exactly what I'm feeling. I can go along for so long until something so stupid is said, and you just got to throw in the towel with the whole thing. And I do believe that most of these individuals are just there to push a message, to push an agenda. And here's how it works. It's the gray propaganda, folks. It ain't the black, it ain't the white. Because the black propaganda is clearly just some B to the S. The white propaganda is just obvious and in your face. White propaganda is, I love America, American flag. Black propaganda is, you know those Nazis, I tell you, those Nazis are terrible. And the gray propaganda is a little bit in between. It's a little obfuscation here and there, but you're not really quite sure where. It's the gray propaganda. And most of the big talking heads, the pundits, if you will, those influencers on the right, specifically, because why would I waste my time listening to giblet heads on the left? But on the right, abso-smurfly, it's gray propaganda. Because so much of it is just true. Oh, yeah, we are behind you. We got it. And then you don't got it. And you don't got it in such a monumental way that you just know it's just bull butter. It's balderdash and falderall and lies. Because I'm sorry, if you are a cogent individual that is proclaiming yourself to be at least knowledgeable of current events and things really going on in the world, and you're sitting there and telling me you can't figure out a huge Israeli connection to a whole lot of shaking going on here in Los Estados Unidos, then you got to be full of prunes. If you're of the Christian variety and you're telling us all this good information, I'm right there with you. Yeah, I'm on board. And then you come out and talk about taking the vaccine. And then you come out and talk about the Omicron and all these ridiculous variants and all this mess. And you just don't come out and say, you know what? I did that, but I was a moron. No, it's like Trump. It's like Trump still coming out with the same old jive, and the stupid people still going, you know, I still love that guy. He's really a truthful person. And my last one, which, well, I still won't reveal names. Put them in the comments if you think you know. I'll tell you. Someone's complaining because I just slurped and smacked. Away with you. Bye-bye. Adios, basura. Anyway, so yeah, the third one that I was going to mention has all kinds of good information. but still loves to pepper his broadcasts, or her broadcasts, with this just in-your-face, over-the-top, profuse proliferation of the love of drogas. Drugs, drugs, drugs. No drugs should be criminalized because it's your version of self-exploration. No, people should be in prison because they're just self-exploring, John. And it went further because it went further into almost quoting Oprah, where, well, we're just going to have to wait for these people to die. And once all these old fuddy-duddies die, the ones that still believe, some drugs should not be legal. Some people should probably be in prison that have something to do with Los Drogas. Because it's not a victimless crime, folks. If you've never, thought beyond your own front door, you could probably look at every major city across this nation and see a whole special little district. They used to call it Skid Row, but now every city's got one, where there's just lumped over pieces of clay or perhaps dung that are just drug-addled pieces of dung. And I don't care what sort of self-exploration voyage they might happen to be on, slide, slippity slide. I don't care what self-exploration they might happen to be on. I just can't agree, go along with, or otherwise buy that we should just let it all slide. Because after all, they're on their own self-explorative voyage, right? We should just legalize it all and what exactly? Here's my shtick on it, man. I'm all for legalizing it all as long as we are no longer paying for any of it. None of the rehabs, none of the health care, none of the benefits, none of the EBTs, none of the nothing. Sorry, if you're a drug-addled piece of human garbage, then we, the proverbial we, the people, shouldn't be paying for a modicum, scintillum, or otherwise cent of your existence. In no way, shape, or form. In my humble opinion, you're an utter waste of oxygen. So, if you choose to do your little self-exploration and you overdose, if you choose to do your little self-exploration and you just end up in a box on the corner, any of the above, folks, then that is your own little red wagon to pull. Maybe I do have more in common with this person than I thought, because maybe I do agree. Let the chips fall where they may, as long as I don't have to pay. What do you say? We'll lay by the bay and make things out of clay. I just may. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to Adam Sandler there for you. So weapons of mass distraction it is, folks. That's really what it all is. And speaking of which, that's really what the drug culture, the alcohol culture, the self-indulgent prostitution culture. And no, I'm not talking about the paid streetwalkers on the corner. I'm talking more about the culture of frolicking to, fro, and anywhere you might happen to go and just playing hide the cannoli with everybody. I would say that's also prostitution culture, or whoredom, perhaps. Maybe more just straight whoredom. Maybe more along those Babylonian lines. Anyway, those are all just more distractions from actually figuring out anything about thyself. That's really what it is. Because for me, figuring out thyself does not include an ayahuasca trip, an LSD trip, some psilocybin, or anything of the sort. It would just be introspection, reflection. And dare I say, a little silence and peace would go a long way to actually figuring out anything about thyself. But as I said before, the vast majority of our tomfoolery publics is more concerned about whatever show they're watching. What's that moronic crud that's out now? Stranger Things, that's the one. That's everyone's just, new season, new show, whatever. Who cares? Good grief. That's more of that stuff I talked about last time, which is nostalgia, pandering. Well, I didn't talk about that last time, a couple of shows back. Nostalgia bait. For good reason. I mean, our current state of the world stinks. So, I have a whole lot of nostalgia for the past. I don't want to live in this current situation. Good grief, are you kidding? Who would? Oh, boy. Trying to decide which trajectory the show shall go at this very moment. I got holidays to talk about, but I think I'm going to do an entire show just on the holidays. I was going to really delve into the humiliation ritual side of things, but I don't think we have time because I think we need the full 50 to talk about the cultural humiliation ritual that's going on. I mean, we've hit some of the highlight reels, but I would extend it right into the Oval Office. Because, you know, it's like that old Candid Camera, or if you want to look at the 90s version of Punk'd, it's kind of like that. That's what I really liken our entire existence and society to now. I'm really waiting for somebody to pop out and go, hey, Punk'd, man, look, the camera's right there. Yeah, you know, that stupid malarkey. That's what I hope is going to happen every day. I'm like, man, please let this be the reveal day. Let this be the day that it is all revealed to be a colossal dung bag and a big old jokey joke. We all just have a knee slap and laugh. The credits roll and we wake up and it's like 1985. Please let this be the day. Man. But then again, I think I do way more self-reflection and analysis than most. I don't know. I remember having these bizarre thoughts as a kid. I believe I was in kindergarten. I might not even have been in kindergarten. But I remember pondering this, pontificating, if you will. The pink is out with a proper cup of tea, pontification. Anyway, I was sitting around thinking. And I thought to myself as a youngster, I thought, what if this is all a dream? I can't even imagine thinking that as that young of a person now, but clearly I did. I was thinking, what if this is all a dream? Like, what if I just wake up and I'm like 2 years old in a crib or something, and this entire mess has just been one bad blipping dream. And maybe that's really what this whole thing is. I've thought a lot about that, folks. Because I really want to take this show in a different direction, and I'm really trying to figure out the right guests to have on to really kind of delve into some of these topics that are not at all political. But I've talked to several people lately, not together, not in the same room. I didn't bring it up and say, yo, what do you think about this? But several people very near and dear to me, by the way. We've had this conversation lately, and they remarked to me. I mean, I sort of talked a little bit about like the broadest context of this, but they remarked to me this. They basically said, what if this whole thing is hell? Like, what if we're actually in hell now? Because full disclosure, I don't buy into the Schofield Bible. We're getting raptured out of here, man. Like, we're just gonna, that stupid. I'm trying to be better. I'm really trying to not denigrate, degrade, and otherwise make fun of people. But the Kirk Cameron movie, The Left Behind, the first one, people just, missing clothes. Like, you walk into your house and, what in the world? There's my, whatever, the clothes on the floor from whoever lives here. So I don't go along with the Schofield Bible that we're just going to wake up raptured. I'm not buying that for a blipping second. However, two different people have remarked these similar narratives to me lately. And they basically said, yo, what if we're actually in hell? What if that's it, man? What if the raptured people have already been raptured the bleep away and we're just stuck here holding the bag, I love some early NoFX, and I would say the song The Bag is perhaps my favorite NoFX song. We're just clinging to an empty bag. I wonder if that's the case. Are we, in fact, just clinging to an empty bag? Have we just not figured it out yet? Have we not figured it out yet that this whole thing is a charade, a sham, a con, a hustle, a dodge? That this whole thing is, in fact, a matrix? That's another funny one. The two cats that made the Matrix, they're now trannies. I mean, how fouled up is that? Is that not just humiliation ritual 101? Like, they released this groundbreaking movie a cult classic, a box office smash. It's checking all the boxes. It's one of the only movies that I can ever actually remember leaving the theater, not literal mouth open, because I'm not one of those mouth-breathing guppies, but, leaving the theater with this like, what did I just watch? And I watched it by myself. I went to the movies by myself and saw The Matrix by myself. And I did leave the movie theater just going, what in the devil does this all mean? What are we in? Is this, in fact, all a mirage? Is this all the Matrix? Is it all ones and zeros? Is it? Are we, in fact, all just left behind right now? And the real reason I've been thinking about this more and more is because, I don't play in the political realm anymore. I've really just quit listening to virtually all of that garbage because I just don't care. And I've gone back to my true love, my roots, if you will, of the paranormal, the esoteric, the occult, and all things that go bump in the night. All that really interests me far more than who Tucker's interviewing or the globalist, and all that horse. Just don't care. But the more esoteric, I do very much have an interest in. So I've been listening to, I don't know, like 2-3 months now of just Art Bell all night, every night. So when I do go to bed in the wee hours of the AM, it's Art Bell. And I recall all that nonsense in the year 2000. And this is something that I've thought, like before I started listening to Art Bell again, and definitely before I had these conversations with these two near and dear loved ones. But I thought to myself, what if the year 2000 was what it was portended to be? What if it was this vast cultural shift? What if it was this awakening time? What if it was the end of the Mayan calendar and everything just went bluey? What if that really did happen? So what if all this actually happened and we just didn't catch on? The proverbial we that are still stuck here, still clinging to an empty bag. Because I would submit to you, like I've said this many times on this show, at least 3 times. 3 tiempos. Por las personas escuchando en Mexico. Anyway, so I've definitely said this at least 3 times on this show, though. But I do believe, and the evidence suggests I'm accurate, that things really did change in the year 2000. And I don't think it had a whole lot to do with the end of the Mayan calendar. I do believe it was a cultural shift, a paradigm-shifting moment, a schism. And it was one of those kind of slow burns because I believe most people were expecting the ball drops at the midnight hour. 2000 is ushered in, and everything just starts raining blood. Gozer the Gozerian jumps out of the screen, and everything just goes into complete bedlam. But I think it was more of a slow burn. Because 2000, if you look at that singular year, in and of itself was quite uneventful. In the grand scheme of things, 2000 didn't look a hell of a lot different than 1999. But it was that slow burn that really ushered in all those cataclysmic changes. Because you saw the evolution of the internet. The evolution of the internet from kind of this dial-up based, very primitive fax machine, that kind of thing. And by 2000, and then as you move beyond it, you really saw the advent of the internet that we might know and love today. We saw the media landscape definitely change with just this putrid immersion in reality television. Did it exist before 2000? Yes. But that's when you saw this jumping off point. You saw the real rollout of the media landscape, and more specifically how people were consuming the media changing. It really shifted. There was like this sort of respite where you saw DVDs, and I believe that was early 2000s. DVDs were still a thing, don't get me wrong. But you saw this consumption of media shift because as people moved beyond dial-up and into more fast systems of media consumption, then you could have more readily downloadable and available media. It was no longer just limited to los discos y las cintas, the discs and tapes. And then you saw the advent of the iPhone, and it all began to change. Because then people could bring their weapon of mass distraction with them. And it was disguised, obfuscated, and otherwise occulted as a phone. But as we should know in 2025, year of our Lord, by now, it's not just a phone anymore. It's a tracking device. And perhaps more importantly, I think the phone is now a binky. It's your little binky. It's your snuggly blankets of comforts. Because you can bring your binky everywhere you happen to go. And when you're in an awkward situation, ooh, an elevator, oh no. A doctor's office waiting room, oh goodness. Or even perhaps at the workplace. All you have to do is whip out your little binky. And then you can pretend to be ever so important. Oh, let's check this message. Ooh, let's look at our email. We don't have to make eye contact with the strangers. We don't have to make casual talk with the coworkers. We don't have to make idle conversation at family functions. Nay, nay, because now our binky will save the day. So all of these things really began that slow burn in about 2000. The slow burn of destruction. That's really what it was. So that's really when we saw this huge cultural shift. So maybe the Mayan calendar was correct. Or maybe our bloodlines of our oligarchical rulers had a little something to do with it. Maybe those oligarchs, the duopoly classes, the bloodlined, chosen few. You know all the presidents are related, right? You knew that. Maybe they had, or perhaps maybe their reptilian overlords had this whole thing planned out. I mean, after all, you look at Quetzalcoatl and Kukulkan, and those various deities that came from below the earth, created the cosmos, and became the gods for the Aztec, Mayans, and Olmecs. They were reptilian, weren't they? So perhaps our reptilian overlords that we pretend to not see as they shapeshift around you and me, perhaps they, the proverbial they, were just pulling the cards out of the hat and just changed things at about 2000. Because since then, it's been a steady decline, a downward spiral. Never a Nine Inch Nails fan, but that's a pretty good synopsis of it. Downward spiral since at least 2000. Because that's when it all really changed. That's when we really showed our true colors as a culture. Maybe the same colors as Quetzalcoatl, the plumed serpent god. The colors of not caring about each other anymore. Of letting people get stabbed and lit on fire in front of us on subways, trains. The not caring and the divisive, by multiples, reality of the tribalism that we live in today. Because after all, you fully transcend the right-left paradigm, because you also have to self-identify as gay and straight and trans and cis, black, white, person of color, lesbian. You've got to self-identify as about 10 different things now. You should just be human. So, brings us to a close, or at least almost a close. Are we, in fact, crazy for noticing? I would submit to you that's what they are trying to make it out to be. Because you're supposed to be crazy for noticing, right? What do you mean? This tiny group of people way over there in the Middle East in a country about the size of New Hampshire. Our greatest ally? What do you mean? What do you mean those people are calling all the shots in America? That would be crazy. What do you mean that one nation is the capital of homosexuality and trans? What do you mean? What do you mean those Hitlerian book burnings were not just indiscriminate books being burned, but in fact books promulgating the trans and not so silent P lifestyles that were occurring in that part of the world? What do you mean all these assassinations are fishy? I mean, after all, the Charlie Kirk thing seems so real to me. What do you mean the table just disappeared or the chair disappeared into a table? What do you mean? What do you mean they scrubbed the crime scene? What do you mean his own people were pulling the tapes out? What do you mean the body still hasn't been buried? What do you mean there's no death certificate? What do you mean there's no autopsy? What do you mean? After all, that girl in the leather pants, his wife, she seems real broke up about it. So much so that she's grasping people by the nape of the neck. What do you mean the air, food, and water is poison? What do you mean those lines in the sky are actually poison? That sounds pretty crazy. I've never noticed that the food is carcinogenic. I have never noticed that the doctors are really more concerned about their bottom line than your health. So, if you're hip to any of that, then maybe you're working on your own little self-exploration too. Maybe you're actually noticing. I don't know. Maybe you're not going to those 501c3 churches, though, because after all, Jesus talked about your body being the temple. Jesus talked about rejecting the religious heretics of the day and finding the Christ within you, the temple within yourself. Not a building, not an edifice, not a clergy, not a sanctified, codified, and sanitized for your protection priest class. You see, that's all the stuff that Jesus resisted, railed against, flipped over the tables, and actually died for. But somehow the comedic line of today is, you've still got to go to church. You still got to go visit in a building. You still have to relegate yourself below the priest class. Kind of ironic, wouldn't you say? But then again, maybe I'm just crazy for noticing. Anybody out there feeling a little crazy? Anybody else feeling crazy for noticing? I don't know. All right, folks, I've gone over my time. Had a couple hiccups in the beginning of the program. La programa. Con tecnología. A little problems with the technology here, but I think I've more than made up for it on this end. I could keep talking for another hour, actually. I've got a lot to talk about. Got a lot to cover. My disdain and anger for the holidays, maybe I'll have to run that into the next show on Thursday. Anyway, I shan't bloviate on anymore. Thanks for sticking around with me, folks. I really do mean it. Thank you for dealing with the technological hiccups there at the very beginning of the show. Thank you. Because if this Thanksgiving taught me nothing, it's gratitude. Life is not guaranteed. I'm not even going to go into that one. Good grief. On the personal level, good grief. I'm not even going to go into it. But what it did underscore is that life is precious. It's not guaranteed. So as we continue this drudgerous journey through the holiday season, or more to the point, as I hope you go through a self-explorative journey of your own through this holiday season and can all the hoopla, as you go through that, please do remember that life is precious. Please have gratitude for the life that you've been given each and every day. That's one thing I pray for each and every day. If I forget all the other prayers, I thank the Lord himself for giving me another day above ground, another day to breathe in the oxygen and exhale the carbon dioxide. Because it's not guaranteed, folks, and there are some crazy people out there. As I often say every day, identify scum and stay away from it. You can't fix crazy. You can't fix stupid. Be safe out there. I'll be seeing you sooner than later in the Anomic Age, specifically on Thursday, 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can't do everything, but you can do something. I'll be seeing you sooner than later in the Anomic Age.
Thank you for listening to The Anomic Age, a John Age project. For past shows, further info, and to comment, go to anomicage.com. That's ANOMICAGE.com. Till next time, thank you for listening to The Anomic Age.
Thank you.